A blockbuster movie role can elevate an actor's career and even make them overnight stars if it's successful enough. Yet for most on-the-job actors, they are simply a handsome payday, which perhaps allows them time to pursue more artistic, lower-paying projects. And though blockbusters aren't generally made to be forgotten, sometimes a name actor's role in a tentpole film is so bizarrely slight that you might actually forget they were ever in it at all. These 9 actors, whether rising stars at the time or firmly established Hollywood royalty, all showed up in some absolutely huge movies, only for their presence to be quickly forgotten in the months and years that followed. In some cases, it's simply a matter of the actor's subsequent work overshadowing this smaller supporting role, while in others, it's clear the actor in question was just collecting a fat paycheck for as little work as possible. Get that bag when you can, eh? Either way, all but the most hardcore fans of these actors will have long forgotten that they appeared in these massive films, only to quickly find themselves lost amid the action, the CGI, and the huge ensemble casts. So it is Gareth here, you are watching What Culture, and here are 9 actors you forgot were in huge movies. Number 9, Ramy Malik, The Twilight Saga: Breaking Dawn Part 2. There is no mistaking the veritable pop culture phenom that was the Twilight franchise, a series which, while laughable by any quote-unquote serious filmmaking metric, nevertheless boosted the careers of numerous rising actors beyond Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart. Even so, does anyone actually remember that Academy Award winner Ramy Malik had a role in the series' final film, Breaking Dawn Part 2? Didn't think so. Malik plays Benjamin, a member of the Egyptian Coven who possesses the ability to manipulate the Earth's elements. He doesn't get much to do during his brief screen time, though does memorably use his powers to create a giant sinkhole during the final battle, which of course turns out to just be a premonition of a fight which never takes place. Yay. Thankfully, Malik only had to wait a few more years for his big break with Mr. Robot, which catapulted him into the stratosphere and led to him taking the career-defining, Oscar-winning role of Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody. And as terrible as Breaking Dawn Part 2 is, Malik should not be embarrassed to be a part of what was clearly a career stepping stone for him. Number 8, Rosman Pike, Die Another Day. If you haven't watched Pierce Brosnan's final outing as James Bond in quite some time, and honestly, who could blame you, you may well be unaware that one of the Bond girls is played by none other than Rosman Pike. A 23-year-old Pike plays Miranda Frost, the chilly undercover MI6 agent who later turns out to be a double agent working for the villainous Gustav Graves. This was, in fact, Pike's first Hollywood movie role, and though it doesn't get much bigger than a Bond movie, she's taken a hard pivot away from blockbusters over the last decade or so, such that it is easy to forget she was ever a Bond girl at all. Granted, there are worse things than for people to forget you were in one of the worst Bond movies of all time, but it gave her career the necessary leg up and allowed her to move on to smaller but better things. Her career lived to die another day or something. Number 7, Bryan Cranston, Saving Private Ryan. Now, to be fair, Steven Spielberg's masterful war epic Saving Private Ryan features such a huge and decorated ensemble cast that you're likely to forget as many famous faces as you actually remember. You'd certainly be forgiven for forgetting that the likes of Ted Danson, Paul Giamatti, and Nathan Fillion appear in small roles. But what about Bryan Cranston's part as the one-armed War Department colonel who sets the entire mission to rescue Private Ryan in motion? It's a small role and not at all showy, though Cranston nevertheless knocks it out of the park, because that's just what he does. But at the time of the movie's release, Cranston was very much a jobbing TV actor, and it wasn't until Malcolm in the Middle took off 2 years later that his star profile began to rise. Furthermore, given how absurdly huge the film's cast is, he is able to disappear into the periphery easily enough. Number 6, Judy Dench, The Chronicles of Riddick. Quite how Vin Diesel convinced Universal to cough up $120 million for this sequel to his modestly successful sci-fi cult classic Pitch Black is really anyone's guess, but it sure did allow the film to secure the talents of some terrific actors. Beyond Diesel returning, the supporting cast included Carl Urban, Thandiwe Newton, and Judy Dench. You heard that right, 7-time Oscar nominee, 1-time winner, and all-round gem of the film industry, Judy Dench, took the role of Air Elemental Arion in the big-budget sci-fi actioner, reportedly at the request of Diesel himself, who wooed the actress by sending her a huge bouquet of flowers. Now, nobody will argue that this was anything but a paycheck role for Dench, and given the film's stonkingly bloated budget, it's fair to assume she was paid handsomely in order to bring some prestige to the blockbuster. Beyond that, she's pretty much just here to drop exposition in her unmistakably plummy twang. Dench almost immediately went back to the Bond films and period dramas after this, so her involvement in Riddick felt more like a glitch in the Matrix than anything, until, Artemis Fowl anyway. Thank you very much for stopping by to check out this list today, you wonderful soul, and if you're enjoying your fine self, then hit that subscribe button down below and you will get more of these What Culture videos in your life. I know that's what you want. Number 5. Michael Fassbender, 300. A few years before he cemented himself as one of the most talented actors of his generation in films like Hunger, Fish Tank, Inglourious Basterds, Shame, and 12 Years a Slave, Michael Fassbender made his Hollywood debut in Zack Snyder's bloody graphic novel adaptation 300. Fassbender plays Spartan soldier Stelios in the movie, but given the sheer number of beefcake warriors on display here, especially a WWE-worthy Gerard Butler as King Leonidas, Fassbender actually gets lost in the shuffle pretty easily, and the fact that Fassbender sports long hair throughout the film makes it even easier to disassociate him from it. While 300 was hardly a great work of cinema, it did afford the actor a pretty killer one-liner, "We will fight in the shade," and it's certainly a lot less embarrassing than his role in Jonah Hex a few years later, which is sadly a whole lot tougher to forget. Number 4. John Malkovich, Transformers Dark of the Moon. Though Michael Bay's Transformers franchise is a shamelessly inane parade of digital carnage and, well, little else, the series has managed to rope in an incredible number of god-tier acting talents on the sheer virtue of the money it can lure them in with. While you're probably aware that the likes of John Turturro, Stanley Tucci, and even Anthony Hopkins have appeared in the series over the years, you're less likely to remember a small supporting role from John Malkovich as Sam Witwicky's boss Bruce Brazos. Though Malkovich makes the best of what's given to him with his typically eccentric line delivery, ultimately you're likely to find yourself wondering whether his involvement in the series actually happened, or was just a half-remembered fever dream. And so he was at least able to get out of Dodge with a giant bag of cash without anyone knowing for sure if he was even in the movie or not. Best of both worlds. Number 3. Glenn Close, Guardians of the Galaxy. Given that just about every entry into the franchise boasts a sprawling ensemble cast, there is no shame in forgetting some of the A-list faces who've come and gone in the MCU over the years. And though countless name actors have shown up for one-off appearances as minor heroes or villains, perhaps the most perplexingly forgettable major actor to appear in the MCU is none other than the great Glenn Close. In Guardians of the Galaxy, 7-time Oscar nominee Close plays Nova Prime, the leader of the Nova Corps, in a shockingly piecemeal role, which by Close's own admission she only took for the money, considering that the MCU has given meaty roles to a bevy of A-listers like Robert Redford, Tilda Swinton, Cate Blanchett, William Hurt, and so on. It's quite baffling how small Nova Prime's role is in both the movie and the MCU as a whole. Close's planned cameo for the sequel was ultimately scrapped, ensuring Nova Prime was an unceremonious quickie for the actor, despite her enthusiasm to return, or at least her enthusiasm for a paycheck. Can't blame her. Number 2. Frances McDormand, Aeon Flux. Paramount was hoping that their $65 million adaptation of the hit sci-fi animated series Aeon Flux would be their next big franchise tentpole, but alas, it tanked at the box office and scooped a paltry 9% tomato meter score. Ouch. While totally generic fantasy schlock fare, it certainly wasn't a film left wanting for acting talent. What with star Charlize Theron joined by the likes of Pete Postlethwaite, Johnny Lee Miller, and Frances McDormand. Wait, what? Though McDormand is best known for her literal decades of serious dramatic acting, she took a role in Aeon Flux as the title character's boss, the Handler. And yet, despite McDormand apparently cosplaying as Brave's Merida years before that movie even came out, kitted out in a bright orange wig and finery as she is, it is a testament to just how tediously programmatic the script is that she's still easily forgotten amid the sea of bad CGI sludge. Number 1. Ben Kingsley, Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time. Though there's definitely a fair argument to be made that Ben Kingsley is one of the greatest actors of his generation, he's also never been one to shy away from a role that pays, no matter the genre or the quality of the script. Enter Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, an honestly not terrible video game adaptation, albeit one which came and went with nary a peep. Now, Kingsley is at least sensibly cast as the villain, Prince Nizam of Persia, and does his usual Ben Kingsley villain performance, yet ultimately can't do much to elevate a movie that'll likely have you wishing you were just playing the game instead. With its colossal $150 million budget, chances are at least solid that he got a fat old payday out of it. After all, why else would Sir Ben even be in a Prince of Persia movie? While few of us will ever forget Jake Gyllenhaal's highly questionable casting as Prince Dastan, something Gyllenhaal himself really admits that he regrets, Kingsley is at home enough in this sort of nonsense that he simply effortlessly slid into the background. A genius move from the legend, really.